I remember really well. I used to go out to a big telecommunications company, and I'd go in and teach a lesson, and I'd be sat there with a course book, and I'd be looking over the shoulder of the student and seeing a whole row of English books and thinking, wow, this guy must be really, really good. And then I would look more carefully, more closely, and see that all the books were at the same level. And this was the reality. These people were doing hours and hours of English, but not actually making any progress. They weren't making any progress. And I thought there has to be a better way. I was learning Italian by being exposed to the real language. I was doing full immersion 24/7. I was very, very lucky. And I knew that we couldn't give that to our students, but I felt that we needed to give them something which was authentic. So I started, this is in the 90s, remember, so I started taking bits of video cassette and taking them out to students, little bits of audio as well, and just exposing them to the natural rhythms of language. And I took huge risks, but I saw that that was what they needed. I think that if you can gain the trust of your student, you can do anything. So at the start, you have to be, a teacher needs to be a really good listener. That's why we like teachers with some experience, and teachers who are, maybe over 30 even, over 35, who have had other lives, have had children, had families, because I think that I became better as a teacher once I actually got past 40. I was much less worried about trying to teach what I thought the student needed, and I got much better at listening. And if you listen to your students, you find out what their difficulties are. You then use your experience and your knowledge of the language to actually latch on to what they're trying to say. And this is how the whole idea of what we call the lesson log came about. It was capturing what they were trying to say and correcting their errors and teaching them what they needed to know via what they already knew. I too have experienced the students who don't get it, who think that language learning should be how they learnt Italian, how they learnt English at school, so it should be by route, it should be very theory-led. But if you can persuade a student that by activating the language in them, also by getting under their skin and learning what their interests are, then you can turn on a light. I think we also have to be realistic. Some people are not so talented and will not get beyond a certain stage. But what we always try and do is get people to be as good as they can be for their own ability. And as a teacher, I don't think you can ask much more than that. I think I enjoy millions of things about teaching. The challenge of meeting new people, finding out about new people. And then if it comes specifically to success in the final result, it's when they come up with something, they come out with something which you know that you've worked on in the past, but now which they own. So for the Italians, it's conquering things like the present perfect. I've been working here for 3 months. When a student comes out with something like that, you know you've locked something in which they can keep forever, as opposed to having a mistake forever. So those little epiphanies of success are very, very satisfying. Or when they write and tell you that they've done something in English, I think that's very, very satisfying too. I don't think we have to set the objectives or the goals too high. We have to be realistic. And also in an international scenario now, we have to accept that what I might call British English isn't the international English of the marketplace. We work with people who deal with Indians, who are dealing with African nations, who are dealing with all European countries, dealing with the US. So there is no one English. So we shouldn't be too worried about perhaps the total technical accuracy of a student. And we should be more concerned about what they're able to do and what they're able to achieve. And when students are achieving, when they're laughing, they're learning, and I love that. And that's why after 25 years teaching, I go in and do a lesson, I'm still as enthusiastic as when I started.
So lessons should be fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's quite hard to make a course book lesson really fun, however good the course book is, and just using the course book. You need to activate the language in some way. And the beauty of having the mother tongue teacher, the teacher who speaks English, who owns the English, is that can be exploited. both from a technical linguistic point of view and from a whole cultural point of view as well. And that is amazing.